like 5 years old, I almost got kidnapped. Story time. So back in the day, it used to be safe for kids to play out on the street. Or so I thought. You know, when you're a little kid, you really don't listen to your parents. Well, anyways, what happened was that my mom was cooking. And I was like, Mommy, please, 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 let me play outside with my new scooter. My mom was always very protective, so she would not let us out of her sight. She's like, I'm going to go outside for 2 minutes with you, and then we're going to come right back inside. I was like, yay! So I'm just over here playing outside. And my mom was like, se me queman las tortillas, se me queman las tortillas. For those who don't know, that means she was burning tortillas. She's like, sit on the steps here in the driveway. You know me being a dumb little child. I was like, let me see how fast I can go. Whee! Here I go with my scooter. I'm still in the driveway. This man and this woman are walking across the street. Then that creepy man was like, hey, come here. That woman was like, I just want to see your scooter. I dropped that scooter and I said, skirt. They started running after me up my driveway.
Story time. Last night, a friend begged me to catch the opening act at a local bar's music night and arrived to pick me up with only a moment's notice. After a few drinks, I realised my phone wasn't in my pocket. I checked the table we were sitting at, the bar, the bathrooms, and after no luck, I used my friend's phone to call mine. After 2 rings, someone answered. They gave out a low, raspy giggle and then hung up. I immediately tried to call back, but they didn't answer. I eventually gave it up as a lost cause and headed home, where I found my phone lying on my nightstand, right where I had left.
So y'all remember how PE teachers used to make you run the mile in elementary school? Well boy, do I have a fucking story for you. So I was out on the field running my second lap and my stomach started hurting because my fucking mom decided to buy McDonald's for breakfast. So I asked the teacher if I could go to the bathroom and that bitch-ass Trump gorilla looking motherfucker said no, so I just kept running and prayed to Michael Jackson that it would go away. So I'm on my 3rd lap and I have to fart. And on God I pulled a Nessa Barrett. So much shit came out that I could literally make a 4-course meal with it. And a chocolate fountain for dessert. I was about to fucking cry. Obviously I wasn't gonna tell my teacher that I shit myself, so I just said I felt like I was gonna throw up. So I go to the clinic literally holding my hands on my ass so nobody would see my shit. When I get to the clinic the nurse tells me to sit down, but in my head I'm like, bitch, if I sit down your chair is gonna look like the chocolate river from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So I just lean on the wall until my mom comes to pick me up. When I stand up off the wall to go to the bathroom, my shit is smeared on the wall and the nurse looks at it and she's like, what the fuck? Was that you? And I was like, ew, hell no. And I run to the bathroom and my whole ass had shit on it, and when my mom picked me up I started crying because she asked what smelled like dog shit and she thought she stepped in something and I had to tell her it was my
story time about how my boyfriend's best friend tried to ruin our relationship. So a little background information. My boyfriend used to be best friends with this one girl. We're gonna call her Jamie. Well, Jamie and my boyfriend were best friends for years, and their friendship was more flirty than anything. Well, him and I got to know each other during track season, so we were always hanging out after school, and sometimes Jamie would be there too. Well, the one night him and I were on FaceTime and we were talking about how we really liked each other. So the next day we started dating, and I was good friends with Jamie too. Then after we started dating, she started acting really weird towards me. Like, I would try to say hi whenever I saw her in the hallways, and she would just give me a dirty ass look. So then I told my boyfriend how I thought that she was really mad at me, and he said that he would talk to her. Well, a week before him and I started dating, she told us that there was this guy that she really wanted to ask to prom, and she said that she liked him for a while. Well, then my boyfriend said, apparently a few days ago you were hitting on the boy that she was going to ask to prom. So then I started to connect the dots and I was like, oh shit, like for part 2.
Story time. My toxic best friend outed me to the entire school. So one day, one of my best friends from a neighboring school decided to move to my school, and she was extremely upset because her best friend over there came out as bi. So I ended up using this as an opportunity to come out bi as well. And she was like, well, it's okay for you. I just got really close to her. We'll call the girl Becky because no one likes a Becky. And we can call her friend Heather. So fast forward to after the situation had calmed down, we decided to all go prom dress shopping. So Heather and I were talking and we really hit it off. And I think Becky legitimately forgot about our sexuality because we were all talking about how much we have in common, and we brought that up as well. She just looked at us and was like, oh, I forgot about that. And she just shrugged it off. But we continued to hang out for a few weeks. One of these weekends, we all went to church together, and the sermon was about how God accepts you no matter what your sexuality is. But of course, Becky turns around to us and says that Heather and I could never date because it would F everything up. Later that day, Heather actually ended up admitting that she had feelings for me, and this is when Becky lost it. Stay tuned for part 2.
Story time about the time a nail salon took advantage of my blindness. My sister and I got our nails done. We used to go all the time, and while the lady was doing my nails, she asked me how I knew how much money I had. At the time, I used cash, never again after this, but I told her that I folded my bills a certain way. I told her that I folded my 20s different than my 10s, different than my 5s, different than my 1s. Anything of her asking that question, I think it's a good question, and I just thought she was curious. I got done with my nails, she walked me towards the front, and my sister was actually just finishing up with hers, so it was perfect. Another man at the front, and he asked me how I knew how much money I had. I told him the same thing. Before I left to go to the nail salon, I made sure exactly how much money I had. My sister helped me count it, helped me make sure that I folded the right bills, just so I knew how much I had, how much I would spend. I gave her the money. Positive that I gave her the right amount because it was just folded, it was folded perfectly, and I counted it out. She takes it, starts talking in a different language, and then tells me that I owe her $20 more. I didn't, and I told her the exact amount I gave her, and she's like, no, you didn't give me this amount, you gave me that amount, like for part 2.